Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We're going to continue talking about the hidden history of the Khazarian Mafia, which is also your Moloch and Baal Worshipers, or the Deep State, or the International Bankers, whatever name you want to hang on them. Now, let me give you a brief overview because we're going to pick it up from where we were going in the last broadcast. So a lot of people have said, well, you keep saying they want to build a world government. They want to put the Antichrist upon the throne of God. They want to take over. They want to track us and monitor us. They want to come out with the mark of the beast. Well, just who is the they? It is the oldest and probably the worst, the most violent, the most vile, the most filthy religion on the planet. And unfortunately, it is also the most secret. I got a video the other day from someone, and this guy was doing a great job of explaining just how the Masons are so bad. And of course, Masonry is bad, but they don't understand. That's like the greeter in church. Okay, so is the greeter that meets you at the front door when you walk into a church, is that the church? No, that's just a greeter. Well, that's what the Masons and the Illuminati, that's who they really are. What is the real heart of it? Well, we know that Lucifer, i.e. Satan or the devil, is the real heart of it, but his number one religion, the most secret, the most deadly, the most powerful, is Moloch and Baal. And good luck trying to find anything on the internet because, as you can imagine, they have seen to it that nothing but superficial information gets on the internet. Once in a while, you can find something that is truth. And someone sent me this, and I know enough of what I'm talking about here. We've had various speakers through the years. You know, if you go to watchprophecyclub.com, we have over 300 DVDs that have been made over the last 28 years there, and you can find a lot of what I'm talking about on various DVDs we had from experts coming in and speaking. So, today I'm going to answer the question, who is the they? Who are the people that rule the world, that are so evil, that have the worst religion, the most vile, the most filthy religion on the planet? And it is the Moloch and the Baal Worshipers. These are the people that when Moses came down off of the mountain with the 10 Commandments in hand, he looked down and he saw that they had made a golden calf. That is Moloch or Baal worship. They worship a golden calf, but they sacrifice. Now, it's very popular that they sacrifice babies. And yes, they did sacrifice babies. And that is Moloch's perfect sacrifice. Because the more innocent the sacrifice, and the more pain given to the sacrifice, the better they like it. Evil and pain, kill, destroy, that is their heart. And the Khazarian Mafia made a pact with this Moloch and Baal worship that basically said, if you make us rich, if you make us in control of the world, then we will see to it that you have plenty of bloodletting and plenty of fear and screams and pain from not just children. They believe, they literally. Now, this is, for us Christians, I mean, let's just be frank about it, okay? Us Christians, it's repulsive. It makes us want to stick our finger down our throat and throw up. We want to go take a shower and wash all this away. It's just filthy, filthy, filthy to us. But to them, no. To them, this is their life. This is their world. This is the way they live. They live by murder and blackmail and stealing and killing and lying. And, of course, that's the real spirit behind all evil. And, of course, yes, especially the Democrats. They believe in literal human sacrifice. Babies are the best because they're innocent. But they'll take anybody. And they actually believe in killing them, eating their flesh, drinking their blood. They believe in that. And their God gives them power and wealth and strength because of that. And these are the people that have basically controlled the world for at least our financial system that we know of it for at least the last 300 years. These are, well, the people behind the SWIFT system. That is the financial system on the planet. They like to stay hidden. They don't want to be talked about. And if you know them, they're not the leaders. The leaders will never be found out short of some act of God. Now, I'm going to pick it up from where I left off, and we've already read, 6 of the 16 pages of this. This comes to us from veteranstoday.com. Now, I do not necessarily endorse them or any other article on that website, I just know from my 40 years of studying Bible prophecy that most of this article is true. Let me give a disclaimer. I cannot prove that any. I do not have the proof for it, but I believe it to be true. Okay, so let's start with where we left off. The Rothschild, or KM, that's the Khazarian Mafia, the Rothschild KM deployed the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia to extract incredibly savage, bloody revenge on innocent Russians, which they had plotted for many years ever since Khazaria was destroyed. The Rothschild KM pre-staged and engineered the Russian Revolution by using its central banks to pay for the Bolshevik infiltration of Russia and the revolution on behalf of the Khazarian Mafia. The Bolsheviks were actually created and deployed by the Khazarian Mafia as the essential part of the long-planned revenge on the Russian Tsar and the innocent Russian people for breaking up Khazaria back in 1000 AD, for its repeated robbery, murder, identity theft of travelers from countries surrounding Khazaria. This little-known fact explains the extreme violence taken out on Russia as long-standing revenge by the Rothschild-controlled Khazarian Mafia. In a well-planned, savage, and inhuman bloodletting that stunned the world, the Bolsheviks were unleashed in full fury on behalf of the KM to gain revenge on the Russians. This had been planned since the destruction of Khazaria. The Bolsheviks, at the direction of the Rothschild KM, raped, tortured, mass murdered approximately 100 million Russians, including women, children, and infants. Some of the torture and bloodletting were so extreme, we're not going to mention them here in this article. Like I say, the more painful, the more innocent, the better this God likes it. But readers who want to know can do some in-depth research on Red Terror or the Bolshevik Cheka, spelling Cheka, Bolshevik Cheka, or watch the classic movie The Checklist, 1992. The Rothschild-Khazarian Mafia once again decided to sheep-dip themselves and infiltrated and hijacked all Judaism. Now, let me pause a second. That's the reason a lot of Jews around the world get this hung around their neck, that these are the people that are the evil people of the earth. But Revelation says that they are not Jews, but they do lie. And it says it two different places. So just because they say they're Jew does not necessarily mean they're Jew. Does not necessarily mean that they are a son of Abraham or the children of Israel. These are Russians that have infiltrated and changed their name and call themselves Jews and even act like Jews, but they do not do the things of the Bible. The Rothschild KM created a master plan to control all Judaism and mind-control Judaics. The Rothschild KM was hijacked Judaism, patterned it off of Babylonian Talmudism, or Luciferian or Satanism, and gained control over the banking and the Wall Street professions in general, Congress, the major mass media, along with most wealth and economic means of success. Did you hear that? These are the wealthy, powerful people behind the scenes, under the desk, behind the curtain, that you don't know about, but they are the ones these are the ones that Trump is going after, and these are the ones that is going after Trump. But see, Trump does it like Jesus did it. Jesus said, what I do openly. But these guys are behind the curtains. They do it under the table. Okay, back to the article. Thus, the Rothschild KM could pass out wealth and success to those Judaics who drank their Kool-Aid and used them as cutouts, assets, and sanyaims, if I'm saying that right. In this manner, the Rothschilds hijacked Judaism. I'll say that again. The Rothschilds hijacked Judaism. Their financing of the Israeli Knesset and construction of it using Freemason occult architecture displayed their commitment to the occult and Babylonian Talmudism and all the evil accompanying it, including child sacrifice to their secret god, Baal. They set up a new world order system called World Zionism, which taught and inculcated susceptible Judaics with a paranoid group delusion of racial superiority, which assumed that all Gentiles were intent on mass murdering all Judaics. Freemasonry architecture was used in the building of the Knesset and of the Israeli Supreme Court viewed through windows. They call this radically paranoid mass Judaism delusion of the world conquest World Zionism, which is really a form of covert Babylonian Talmudism or Luciferianism that had been unknown to mainstream Judaics. The system was designed to use Judaics as cover, but also to anoint them with the Babylonian money power in order to use them as cutouts to later be sacrificed to Lucifer in 2 stages. The first stage would be their planned World War II in Nazi work camps. Okay, did you catch that? In other words, these are Moloch and Baal worshippers that actually caused World War II, caused the people to be rounded up and put in ovens because that was their burning sacrifice to their God. They sacrificed some 6 million Jews and others to their God in World War II. Now, they changed their name. They called themselves Nazi, but they're still really Baal. These are the people that Trump is fighting. These are the people that Trump is trying to round up, you see. The people that don't just believe, but also practice sex with children, sex trafficking, drug trafficking. These are the people behind most of the evil in the world. So when we say they, this is who we're talking about. The system was designed to use Judaics as a cover, but also to anoint them with the Babylonian money power in order to use them as cutouts and to later be sacrificed to Lucifer in 2 stages. The first stage would be their planned World War II in Nazi work camps, cut off from supplies, resulting in the deaths of about 200,000 Judaics from starvation and disease, along with about 90,000 non-Judaic inmates from the same causes, according to the respected Red Cross official figures. This number is 5% of what the Khazarian Mafia or the World Zionists really did. The second great sacrifice would be a final one. When the New World Order Luciferian king, I think he's talking about the Antichrist here, Luciferian king would be placed into power, when all 3 Abrahamic religions would be eradicated, especially Judaism, which would be blamed for all the wars and destruction of the world. By then, the Rothschilds would once again morph themselves into a complete new identity, not associated with Judaism in any form, not even World Zionism. It is important to realize that the Rothschild KM took Germany down to nothing after World War I, then created a vacuum for fascism, then rebuilt it, creating Nazism and installing Hitler as a counterforce to the Russian Bolshevism. Hitler became a problem for the KM. When he broke free of them, he began acting in the interest of the German people and the free people of the world, and developed his own banking system free of the Rothschilds. Hitler introduced a financial system that was free of usury and beneficial to the working class. Now, hang on, let's talk about that a second. According to finalwakeupcall.info, that's what they're trying to do right now. From another source, it is rumored that the SWIFT system, or the system these guys have been running for some 300 years, has already been turned off, and the new QFS system is in the process of coming online. So they say. So this guy says. That could be good, but we know that eventually it's going to be turned into an Antichrist system. But hopefully, at the beginning of it, at least for some 6 months worth anyway, we hope it's going to be very, very good. Okay, let's go on. Hitler became a problem for the KM when he broke free and began acting in the interest of the German people and the free people of the world, and developed his own banking system free of the Rothschilds. That's what they're trying to do now. Hitler introduced a financial system that was free of usury and beneficial to the working class. This mandated the utter destruction of Germany and the German people, because the Rothschilds and the Khazarians could never allow an economic system that did not depend upon usury to exist. Okay, what does it mean, usury? In other words, interest. You borrow money at an interest. Well, that's usury. We see the same thing today with the Khazarian war against Islam, because Islam forbids usury. That's why Israel is so vocal and aggressive about destroying the Islamic people of the world. The KM expected this to be a large World War II, and when they supported both sides, this could be used to industrialize the whole world and maximize their bankster money power. The Rothschild KM then bribed and induced members of Congress to send American soldiers to their pre-staged and engineered World War I. As a continuance of their well-proven pattern of financing both sides in any war to maximize profits, the acquisition of more federal tax monies and increased international power, the Rothschild Khazarians once again bribed, blackmailed, and induced members of Congress to declare war against Germany in 1917. Now, let me just say this again. As I explained the other day, the way these guys work is, let's take, for example, the Civil War, when the North wanted to invade the South. Well, they didn't have the money. So they went to the Rothschilds. They went to these people, and they borrowed the money. But the people said, well, if you're going to borrow this money, then you also have to be willing and sign papers and agree to that if you win, you will guarantee the loan against the South. In other words, if you win, then you have to pay off their note too. And then, of course, the South then comes up because the North now has lots of money, and they say, hey, we need some money. And they'll loan it to the South then. And they'll say, but if you win, you also have to guarantee the note of the North, meaning the bankers in the middle, the Rothschilds, these Khazarian mafia, have it set up so they can't lose. The biggest moneymaker thing in the world is war. The biggest business in the world is war. And that's why we see so many of them, among other reasons. Also, it is my opinion that if we really knew the truth, I believe that most of the Democrats, not just in the federal level, but also down to the state level, many, if not most of them, are blackmailed. They're controlled. And as a result, they always vote the way they are told to vote. Even Trump noticed it. Even he said, hey, there's one thing about those Democrats, they always stick together. Well, they stick together for a reason, in my opinion, that I cannot prove. They're probably blackmailed. Now, back to the article. This was facilitated by a KM false flag attack with the sinking of the Lusitania. The Rothschild KM has since developed the usual pattern of covertly staging false flag attacks as a standard operating procedure for introducing Americans to fight in wars for the Khazarian Mafia. After World War II was finished, the Rothschild KM deployed the Cold War and used this as an excuse to bring Nazi scientists and mind control experts to America under the operation called Operation Paperclip. This allowed them to set up a world spying and espionage system that far exceeded any of their prior efforts. Under this new system, they continued to infiltrate and hijack all American institutions, including the various American church systems, such as Freemasonry, Scottish Rite, York Rite, the U.S. military, U.S. intel, and most private defense contractors. The judiciary and most agencies of the U.S. government, including most state governments and both major political parties as well. Now, let me jump aside here. Benjamin Fulford said that, in his opinion, for the Khazarians, or we would say Moloch and Baal worshippers, to be cleaned up, about 1 million people would have to be arrested. Can you imagine a force, a covert force, that absolutely is 100% loyal? 1 million people controlling the world? That's what we're talking about. 1 million people with a printing press that can print all the money they want. They have unlimited funding. And even Trump said in the last election, seems like these Democrats have all the money they need. Well, there's a reason for that. They print it. The Rothschild sets up Nazi work camps as a pretext to later manipulate the Allies into granting them their own private colony in Palestine, using land stolen from the Palestinians. The Rothschild KM was able to use their self-mislabeled, so-called, quote, Holocaust to serve as a mind-control trigger to thwart and to resist any criticism of their Zionist ways. The truth of the matter was that the Rothschild KM set up the Nazi work camps to make huge profits for their corporations that ran their work camps and supplied their Nazi war machine. Once the Rothschild KM gained their own private homeland in Israel, 1947, through the covert political manipulations, they began to secretly view all of Palestine as their new Khazaria, and began plotting how to genocide all the Palestinians and to steal all of Palestine for themselves. Their plans include their fantasy of constructing a, quote, greater Israel by taking over the whole Middle East and manipulating dumb American Goyim, that's us, the non-Jews, Goyim is non-Jews, the American Goyim to fight and die on their behalf, taking all the Arab lands for Israel and Khazarian Mafia so they can assist strip their wealth and natural resources, especially their crude oil. Now, let me just jump in here with a disclaimer. I cannot necessarily prove all of that is exactly accurate. That was all new to me, but nevertheless, I'll throw it out there for your consideration. The Rothschild KM decides to morph again and expand the ranks. In the meantime, the Rothschild KM realized that they could not stay hidden much longer from the public unless they morphed again and expanded their secret leadership. So they worked harder and further to infiltrate and hijack Freemasonry and its secret offshoots and inducted top members into their pedophile network and child sacrifice rituals. Also, key members of Congress were inducted into their secret satanic network by giving them special power, high U.S. government military intel positions, accompanied by great monetary rewards and high status. Massive KM espionage fronts using American-Israeli, quote, Israeli first, dual citizens as cutouts, were set up inside America to funnel the Khazarian banksters' counterfeit money to politicians for their election campaigns in order to own and control them when elected. You see, that kind of explains why we don't vote. We sit there and we listen to these people. How is it that my fellow Americans voted this man or woman into office? Well, probably the truth is we didn't. It was stolen. It was cheated. That's what they do. They blackmailed. They murdered. They cheated. They changed the votes. So they cheated so they could put their evil people in control to get what they want. And I might mention that that's one of the things that Trump is so upset over is because he believes, and I agree, they actually won the election, but it was stolen. But that's what these people are. That's what they do. That's all they do is cheat, lie, cheat, steal. The Rothschild Khazarian Mafia decides to mind control the American masses to make it easier to manipulate them into approving their illegal, unconstitutional, unprovoked, undeclared, unwinnable perpetual wars needed to make huge profits and gain more world power. The Rothschild KM decided to gain complete control over all public education by setting up the Department of Education and creating globalist and socialist curriculums, in other words, they print the books, based on political correctness, diversity, and perversion as normal teachings. Fluoride is added to the public water and toothpaste, and dentists are mind-controlled to believe that the fluoride prevents cavities, and it is not harmful to brain function or thyroid function, which it is. The addition of fluoride to the public water supply and to the toothpaste is a dumb-down. Americans, on average, lowering the operational IQ and making folks much more docile than they would normally be. And we've got a DVD up on Watch Prophecy Club. I forget the guy's name, talks about that. Programs to develop and deploy vaccinations to dumb down children and create huge numbers of future chronic health problems were initiated. Doctors have been mind-controlled and misled by a biased research that was cherry-picked, ignoring any studies that were negative. And that included most of them. All vaccine cell lines are contaminated with SV40, a known carcinogenic, slow-acting virus. The KM used its monetary power to gain control over all of the allopathic medical schools and to set up and control the American Medical Association and their medical societies in order to make sure their agenda based on lies and deceit was continued. Part of this massive plan to dumb down and mind control the American masses was the KM's buying up and consolidating, here it is, of all the American mass media into 6 controlled major mass media owned and controlled organizations. So the media functions as an illegal news cartel. And he says it should be broken up under antitrust laws for infecting espionage and illegal propaganda as a weapon of war against the American people. So the Khazarian Mafia chieftains used their top Israeli-American Israel first, quote, dual citizens living in America, to plan a major attack on America on 9/11/01. Bibi Netanyahu, the operational head of the KM, and I don't know that that's true, deployed the Mossad and these dual citizens to set up and institute this attack on America, which was to be blamed by the mass media on the Muslims. They informed their top rabbis and, quote, friends of world Zionism not to fly on that day and to stay out of New York City. Baal or Moloch, take your pick, it's the same evil spirit that wants to mass murder all humans. In exchange for doing his, quote, dirty work, he rewards them and allows them to snatch their souls by giving them incredible riches, fame, and power. This is the secret blood contract called sells one soul or selling one soul. Hold on to your chair. This is a very big secret and explains a lot of what has been going on inside America, all caused by the Khazarian Mafia, which has infiltrated most, if not all, of America's institutions in government and society. Again, I do not know that this is true, but the article says that Benjamin Netanyahu was meeting at a Fink's bar in Jerusalem, a well-known Mossad watering hole. Here is what was said, taken directly from the transcript of the recording, which was witnessed as being 100% fully authenticated. If we get caught, they will just replace us with persons of the same cloth. So it doesn't matter what you do. America is a golden calf, and we will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off piece by piece until there is nothing left but the world's biggest welfare state that we will create and control. Why? Because it's God's will, and America is big enough to take the hit so we can do it again and again and again. This is what we do to countries that we hate. We destroy them very slowly and make them suffer for refusing to be our slaves. When Bibi Netanyahu mentions God's will, the God he's referring to is Baal. Now again, I can't verify this. Also known as the Great Owl or Moloch. The God these Khazarians believe requires them to worship him by constant bloodletting and painful human sacrifice and mass murder, and that if they sell their souls to Baal, as in Lucifer, Satan, they do this, they will be rewarded with incredible riches, fame, and great power. When they, quote, sell their souls, what actually happens is that their souls are snatched away from their body, and they become inhuman or soulless, and take on the characteristics of Baal, that is, that they become increasingly psychopathic and evil. Well, now that makes sense, doesn't it? Would you like a shortcut to be able to understand Bible prophecy, especially the book of Revelation? The shortcut is to write out the book of Revelation, then get yourself to the School of the Watchmen, June 11 to 13. Write out the whole book of Revelation. Well, it's not a requirement, but if you want a shortcut, yes, that's the shortcut, because that will help you to understand it in ways and in depths perhaps no other way you can. Write out the book of Revelation. Go to prophecyclub.com, get signed up for the School of the Watchmen, June 11 to 13. June 11 to 13, prophecyclub.com. If your heart is with us, I'm asking you to become a member. Actually state before God that you are with our vision to win thousands upon thousands of souls, to teach prophecy and walk in sevenfold miracles, to be a blessing and give answers in the time of trouble. If this is your heart, go to prophecyclub.com and click on membership. Only takes 90 seconds. This will help us to get a loan for an office and a church to do the work of the ministry. prophecyclub.com. In 2017, God blessed me by helping me to memorize the book of Revelation. God showed me a secret door, which is based upon a single word found in Revelation and Leviticus, linking the feasts to the prophecies. When linked, a person enters into an understanding of Bible prophecy not previously known. Even though I've been in the world of Bible prophecy for 40 years, frankly, I did not know anything of what is in this book. One prophetic word described it this way. There is a lock that I have put over a word in the book of Revelation that I'm going to open to you. It will turn so many books written on the end-time message into obsolete books. That's this book. 2 amazing prophecy charts on the back flap, 12 inches by 9 inches. Imagine a book on prophecy that brings a fresh, new, accurate perspective. We offer them in shrink-wrap sets of 5. 1 for $20, but don't do that. 5 for $35 or 10 for $60. That's 1 for $20, 5 for $35, or 10 for $60 at prophecyclub.com. The easiest way to listen and watch Prophecy Club YouTube videos is to download our free app from the App Store. This is not to be confused with WatchProphecyClub.com, where you can watch 26 years and over 300 DVDs for a subscription of $20 a month or $200 a year. The app allows you to watch our YouTube videos and listen to our radio programs very easily. Go check it out at your App Store. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com is owned by a prophecy student who reads his King James Bible and supports Prophecy Club. Call CornerstoneAssetMetals.com for gold, silver, palladium, rhodium bars, or coins. They can help you roll over your IRA, 401k, so tell CornerstoneAssetMetals.com Prophecy Club sent you.